friends, how's it going today? I am super excited to finally have my Catrice order in. It feels like a couple weeks ago I placed an order. There's been a bunch of new stuff on their website. I love Catrice. You know those certain brands where you just seem to have a really high success rate? So many of the things you try you end up really liking. One of you guys had tipped me off to the fact that there's a lot of new things on Catrice's website, so I got a lot of them. I've got new things for face, a couple eye things, lip stuff. Since I got it late last week, I think it was Thursday, so I'd already shot like my Saturday video, but now I've had a few days to experiment a little bit, so I've got some insights already, but I'm going to use the new stuff today. The first thing that I've actually already put on my skin is this serum. Yes, Catrice is touching into the skincare world here with this Lazy Day all-in-one serum. It says hydrating, calming, and caring, and I was intrigued because it encompasses two of the three serums I use every day, niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. I also use a vitamin C serum. It also has panthenol, vitamin E, it's vegan and cruelty-free, it has no alcohol, no gluten, oil, or parabens. But I kind of thought this might be a nice little travel thing too, because I don't usually take all of my serums when I travel. I just take a moisturizer. And here I'm at least getting several things that I like. It feels very silky and gently hydrating in itself as it goes on. You're not relying on your serum, excuse me, to be your hydration. But with the hyaluronic acid, the vitamin E, it does give you some. But yeah, no complaints on this so far. I've been using it for a few days now and it seems to be working well. Next up, we have a couple of different primers here. I had to try this Soft Glam foam primer. I've never used a foam primer and I feel like it is a little gimmicky. It's supposedly a hydrating formula that provides a radiant, fresh finish. It does feel very wet when you put it on, and if you look up really closely at it, I'm not sure if it'll even translate on camera, you can see a gentle sheen in the product, okay? I don't notice that a ton once it's on my skin. I just have this very like wet experience, but I'm gonna pump some out. You're gonna see, yep, it's foam. It's a little pump of foam, and I'm gonna blend that in all over my skin. And the one pump really feels like ample moisture. It has more of a scent than I was expecting, just a fresh scent. But it's interesting. I would say I feel like I've just put on a basic hydrating primer, but it started as foam and it does not feel sticky either. If you were hoping this was a gripping primer, I wouldn't say it's gripping. Does my skin look a little glowier after I put it on? Maybe ever so slightly, but mainly it's a moisture boost type of thing. I'd have to say it's giving a little more moisture than you expect out of something that just starts as foam. I just kind of expected my skin to drink it up at first, but it does for sure add some hydration. And then I have a totally different kind of primer, and because I now have something kind of hydrating, a little bit glowy on, I think you'll really be able to see what this is doing. This is one that I've seen like little videos on, little like, I don't know, influencer advertisements on. It's the Extreme Blur Mattifying Primer. So we got this little jar, it's a glass jar. Once you take the top off, you can see there's a sub cap and there is a little scooper thing. Can you see that? And then this gel looks like this, it has this light blue color, and I'm going to slip into this, and I noticed on a video I did see it said don't use too much. You don't need to use a lot. So I've got a relatively small amount on there, and I noticed from the first time I put this on I could really tell that my skin was getting mattified. So I'm going to put it on my nose here and blend it across my nose. My nose was shining a second ago, and now it is clearly matte. I'm going to put some across just like this part of my cheeks. I feel like this is the type of primer you could sort of spot around on some places and not necessarily use everywhere. Can you see that? Like, here's some glow coming off of my cheeks, and then I put this on and the glow is gone. Really, truly mattifying. And I'm going to get a little bit up here on the forehead too. I still think I might have gotten more than was necessary out of the container, and you guys might think it's goofy, like why use the hydrating primer and then use this? Generally speaking, I probably wouldn't use both primers in the same day, but I'm just trying to show them both to you. But look how matte. Literally undid the shine from the nose area. But I guess I do still have the advantage of feeling hydrated, but I look matte. Put a little extra here down on the chin. It blends in easily, it's smooth. Might have felt almost a little bit cooling as I put it on as well, but just an absolutely instant mattification there. And then the question would remain, like, what does that do for your face then all day long? I think we should put on a foundation together so you can see. The last time I used it a couple days ago, I went on with like a relatively glowy foundation, and I feel like I kind of messed with what the result might have been. I'm gonna see if I look extra matte using my HD liquid coverage from Catrice here in Sand Beige. This is an amazing foundation. I love to travel with this foundation if I'm feeling like, yeah, the wear time is super important. I feel like this wears so well, but I haven't yet paired it with this super mattifying primer. So we'll see what we think of that. e.l.f. Buffing Foundation Brush. I really like the shape and size of this one. It's like using half of the e.l.f. Duo Complexion brush. Okay, yes, I would say it feels even more matte over top of this primer. Like I'm watching the product cross my nose and blend into my nose, and I know what this foundation tends to look like day to day without a super mattifying primer. And I've honestly never felt like, oh, this foundation is so matte. I think it has beautiful coverage and everything, but an entire absence of shine wasn't always a main characteristic. And now, with that primer underneath, I feel so matte. So if that's the goal, guys, the primer is really doing it. Getting all blended in. I think I've just oftentimes underneath that had maybe a gripping primer, heck, even a glowy primer at times, which is obviously going to mess with the finish. But I like to do things like that. I like to be able to adjust a little bit with maybe glowy primer, matte foundation. You can end up with a really natural look. This is for those who truly want it matte as can be. That foundation and that primer, wow. I'm excited to keep an eye on staying power today with this combo. The foundation is pretty much always a home run for me, but I wonder if it will truly stay looking this matte all day. Okay, I'm gonna throw on some concealer and powder, and we've got more new things to try. Actually, scratch that. I'm gonna keep you here with me because I forgot I do have this powder, the Catrice Soft Blur Matte Airbrush Powder. This looked beautiful on my skin the other day, and I'm just gonna use a concealer I already have here. This is Catrice True Skin in Cool Cashmere, I believe. Love this concealer. It wears so beautifully. It does not feel heavy. When we're talking about concealers that really don't turn into a dry cakiness as the day goes on, this is great for not doing that. It stays looking really fresh up on the under eye. And that's a main concealer usage area for me, so that's really where I'm like looking at the wear. Okay, I'm taking this e.l.f. Tap and Blend concealer brush, and I'm just spreading this around. So the True Skin range, which what the heck are they doing with True Skin foundation? Pretty much right after the Emily Awards, we were all noticing, hey, that's not on the website anymore. Why? It's a brilliant product. Maybe it's too expensive for them to make and keep it at the $10 or less mark, but they still have the True Skin concealer. And this here we're talking long wear, but still a bit more hydrating version of product than the mattifying foundation. HD liquid coverage. So I've spread it out some. I don't have a full blend going. I'm gonna go back to the foundation brush and tap in. Isn't that beautiful? Like the foundation did so well for us on coverage, but this adds a little more. And I would say the shade is just a little more brightening for my under eye area, but not off the charts, you know. Get right in there. Looking so good. And sometimes when I talk about travel, it's like I'm really not traveling that much outside of cheerleading competitions. The All-Star Cheer season does involve a lot of travel. Oh, that coffee is good today. So this is a pressed powder, and I have it in 005C, 12-hour shine control and long wear. I had tried this the first time I used it. I tried it up on the under eye area, and I felt like it worked well with a brush. Just putting your finger in it, it doesn't feel quite as velvety soft as like a Maybelline Superstay Hybrid powder foundation, and it's not trying to be a powder foundation. I'm just giving you a description, but yet when you run it between your fingers, you feel like, yeah, something's really laid down there. It doesn't immediately dust away. It's like it's adhering somewhat. So I thought this applied best to my under eye area actually with a brush as opposed to a puff. Maybe I'm just scared I'm gonna lay down a little too much or something if I use a puff, but the brush really did a good job. I'm just using this Morphe Under Eye Bullet brush, getting into my product there. And it's like it really has an immediate kind of perfecting thing going on. The shade is nicely brightening. Again, 005C. Is there an actual name for that somewhere? It's vegan, it's fragrance free. Look how like over the nose. Again, we're just reinforcing that matte look, but don't you see like up on the under eye how flawless that looks? Get in here, this zone where I'm always wanting to get just a little shiny, it seems like these days. Yeah, I'm a fan, and I'm not feeling super tacky. That foundation never leaves me feeling like ultra juicy, but yet it's not too drying either. And now we've put this powder on top to set our certain areas, and I think that's really nice. Then bronzer. I got a new bronzer. It's Butter-like Bronzer and Contour Palette, and this is in the shade 20, Shape It My Way, and it's cool because you've got like your cooler, kind of more brownish contour type color, and then your really nice bronzy bronzer. So I'm gonna go into the cooler one. I'm gonna use a little bit of this like hollows of the cheeks. I like the way it blends. It feels light, like silky when you touch it. Like I'm getting pigment off on my fingers, but it's not feeling as thick with product. If we want to compare this straight up to like Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, you'd swatch into that and you'd feel kind of a rich, almost semi-creaminess in the texture of that powder coming off on your finger. And this feels like a lighter yet still very pigmented formula. And I'm just getting it there in the hollows of my cheek. I'm gonna get it down here too. And that cool tone shade is just great for this. Or you could mix them both, you know? What I might do is just put the cool tone, really sculpt out with that, and then put some of the bronzer almost in more of a blush placement. But I like this product. This formula is really good. Take some of the bronzy one now. Maybe we just let that come up practically where you'd apply blush, just for some sunniness. Hi, Bisky. I hope you guys had a great Easter. We had a great day. We went off to church. We came home, had a little meal. Bub smoked a ham. I made my favorite 5-ingredient corn casserole, which is always a hit. Baked beans. Bought some potato salad. Had a little pasta salad I made as well. It was delightful. Kids hunted Easter eggs and played with their Easter basket stuff. I feel like I used to stuff the Easter baskets full of candy, and now I'm creating more of a basket of things. I'm kind of bouncing between the two here. I'm just building up to where I want it on the hairline. You know, like little toys and crafts and things like that. Looking good. I'm just really into that bronzer. That contour, like, that cuts deep. I really look like my body maybe isn't 75% Cadbury cream after yesterday, you know? Blush-wise, we got some things to cover here, my friends. I got this Blush Affair Cream and Powder Palette. This is not a new thing. I own several different shades of this product. They're giving you a cream blush and a powder blush, but the new thing would be this shade, right? And it's called Bold Berry, and I actually have like the Patrick Ta original type of product that's that color. Yes, I own one of these Patrick Ta products, and it is the berry. Patrick Ta does have the fancy little window thing over the cream, but there they are side by side. I feel like we should do a swatch test. But what I can tell you is this Catrice is so very intense. The cream's gonna look intense, and then you're gonna be like, well, I do have the audacity to layer up a berry powder blush over a berry cream blush, and your result is just gonna be like, make you question whether you can wear it out of the house. At least my application felt that way. I ended up toning it down a little bit. I actually took some of that matte powder that we used on the under eye, and that helped me. Okay, I'm seeing the difference here. These are the Catrice swatches right here, and these are the Patrick Ta. With Catrice, something I can tell mainly as the difference is that the blush has even more brightness. It's like a brighter berry, and this is almost a more earthy berry in the powder blush. The creams look almost identical though. In both products, and I would say the texture feels similar in both. You know, it's a highly pigmented cream. It's also a very pigmented powder. So I would say if you're looking for an alternative that's really quite close to Patrick Ta, this is it. But be prepared for a very intense cheek. Deeper skin tones, anyone who struggles to have blushes show up as intensely as they want to see them might really enjoy this product, and it definitely lasted all day. Look at me picking up after myself after every step. So then we've got a couple other blush things to chat about. We've got this right here, little frosted glass jar. This is the Catrice Velvet Pudding Blurring Blush Pink Parfait. When I first opened this, it's got a really tight closure, which I guess we need. It had a seal, like a peel off seal, not an additional cap, but I do feel that the twist on lid really does cap tightly. And this is following in the footsteps of, you know, the Maybelline Cloudtopia. Wet n Wild also doing something called a pudding blush. This feels extremely soft to the touch, and maybe like there's a little bit more softness or lightness in the formula compared to the others that I've tried. That would be the one slight difference. But overall, we're still talking, sorry, there's a hair right here. We're still talking about a really pigmented, creamy product. And this is a fairly vivid looking pink, but it's going to blend in with ease. And a real benefit to this type of product, this format, and I've noticed it across the board, you know, with Maybelline or with Wet n Wild, whatever you're choosing. This is not the type of product that's going to set in too quick on your skin. You're going to have time to blend, and the blending's going to feel easy. So there's that all blended in. They're a little less scary, you know, than just like, say, a Rare Beauty liquid blush or some form of a dupe of that type of product. Like, it's just kind of moussey and light and airy. This one especially maybe feeling a little more airy than the others, but still bringing some pigment, bringing us a pretty pink flush there. We're still not really glowing a whole lot with our skin because this is pure color. This does not have shimmer. While it is a creamy texture, it's not providing dewy juiciness. So there's one new thing. And then the other new thing is the Soft Blur powder blush. So we already tried a soft blur thing with the matte airbrush powder. So this is the blush. Pink Positive is the shade here. And we're just talking classic matte beautiful blush. It's giving kind of a soft, warm pink color. And whereas I felt the Soft Blur matte powder when I touched it and I felt it between my fingers, you know how I mentioned, it's almost like it's really adhering. I don't see that quality quite as much with the blush. It seems just a little lighter to me. It looks really good on the skin. It's kind of just like what's setting this apart. You know, e.l.f. does good blushes. There is nice pigment here. It pairs nicely with that particular shade of pudding blush that I put on, but I was missing like having a fruity type of salad or thing. Like banana cream pudding would have been nice on Easter, or maybe, you know, some ambrosia. Biddy loves that, but I had just made it recently. I honestly should have made it again. See, it's cute. It's matte. It's pure color. But I feel like I have a lot of blushes that look like this. Okay, gang, are you still with me? We are finally going to get to some glow here. I got this product called Aura Glow Balm Highlighter. Look at this. This is so pretty. I got the shade called Swirl of Rose. A Swirl of Rose, it says. It is a balmy swirled highlighter. As you can see, there's a lot of actual pigmented color in this thing. So I've been using it kind of like a glowy blush topper. I've just been using my fingers. I've been swirling into everything. So I'm getting some of the lightness as well as some of the pigment there, but it has kind of like an iridescent glow. Let's make sure we're in focus. Tapping in here, like tapping all over the apple of my cheek is where I'm going with it. Because I feel like if I just put a streak of this right up in an upper kind of highlighter zone, I just don't think it'd make sense with the color that it provides. It's giving actually quite a bit of pink. Adding a little more to see if you can see it better. But it's pretty. It's pretty. It's popping off with a little, you know, pinky toned gleam. See that on that cheek? Here we're all matte. Here we've got the Aura Glow. All right, let's do some over here now. And after you put that on, how does that affect the texture of your skin? Well, you feel a little dewy to the touch. Not insanely so, but, you know, a little bit. I'm not putting on boatloads of this. I gotta say, I like that. Most cream highlighters are just being cream highlighter, but this actually, maybe it's the particular shade I chose, but it's very much a blush topper type of look. So the next couple things that I have, I got several things for lips, but I have 2 things for eyes. So I'm just gonna take care of my brows and a little eyeshadow, and then we'll pull those in. I've got my Morphe Micro Brow Pencil in Java in my brows, and also the Micro Manager Gripping Brow Gel from Morphe. Put on my e.l.f. eye primer. I used my Dark Cocoa palette from Catrice, just just kind of staying Catrice where I can. I've got this in the crease. This is on my outer lid and outer corner, and then this soft gold is on the inner part of my lid. So a relatively soft look with this palette. I was just looking for something kind of natural and easy, because the main new things I have to talk about eye-wise are a mascara. I feel like I need to sneeze now. And we've got this eyeliner. The eyeliner is called Hyper Liner. It's a brush tip liner. And I thought, you know, I could use another good black liquid liner. The shade is Classic Black, and it is a good brush tip, and I love the way it applies. But just let me cut to the chase here. I don't love the staying power. I applied it the other day. Like, when I use black liquid liner, I'm not usually doing anything partial. I think it only makes sense to go all the way across. So yes, I am getting all the way to the innermost part of my eye, and I'm carrying it out, and I'm loving the way it's laying down. It's really easy to put on, but the staying power, like by 2/3 of the way through the day, the first time I wore it, it transferred down to like my lower inner corner and lash line, and I'm not liking that. That's making me say run back to Milani. You know, I'm applying this today because I want you to see it. It's a new Catrice thing, and we're talking about new Catrice, but Milani Stay Put Tank, that stuff does not move from where you put it. You know, it's black liquid liner. It's something black on your face. You need it to stay in its lane, you know? I don't have the guts to do a wing with this, even though I think a wing would be easy in application. I'm not convinced it would wear well. So that's kind of unfortunate. If this were a more long-wearing formula, it would be 2 thumbs up, because I love that brush tip. It reminds me so much of the M Cosmetics Illustrative liner with the brush tip. It's really good. It just always feels 100% juicy all the time. But you know, the Milani is a felt tip, but that applies with these too, and it wears all day. And then I got their new tubing mascara. It's the Catrice Tubing Stay in Place Volume Mascara, so it's going to be smudge proof, they say. I did not have any trouble with the wear of the mascara, and I have worn it upper lashes and lower lashes. It is a true tubing mascara, it seems. The thing I wasn't immediately wowed by was an amazing look of volume on my lashes, or a ton of length. I just wasn't getting a lot from it. Maybe today will be better, who knows. You know, it's another tubing mascara in the mix for me, but I'm not jumping up and down for this one. I am loving the gleam coming off of that cheek though. Brush is relatively small, rubber bristles, short bristles, and I just feel like it's kind of one of those situations where the brush comes off very, very clean out of the tube, and you get the first coat down and you're thinking, okay, yeah, maybe a little extra length, but it's just looking gentle on the lashes. Just a little bit's going on here. Okay, one coat is very much like, yeah, you're gonna need to do some more. My nail polish is from Dollar Tree. It's from the Marie Claire brand. I'll need to look at what the shade name was, but it's super cute. And that's just one coat. I'm not saying I don't see it at all after one coat. I am seeing it some, but just not as much as I'd like. And then you gotta build up a little faster than you might with other mascaras, because since it's tubing, I feel like usually tubing mascaras will have a little faster dry down, but the exception to that would be the Milani tubing one. The one in like the greenish teal tube, that one I feel takes quite a while to dry. Okay, we're building it up a little bit more. I'm not looking like I have tons of lashes. The separation isn't wonderful here. Maybe I waited too long to build up on that side. Here's where we're at with like a couple coats. It's just okay. Like, I like that you're tubing, it's just not doing enough for me. I do like the brush. The brush is pretty easy to control. I'm going down to the lower lashes with it. Fine for my lower lashes. Guys, I tried to apply like one more coat of mascara there, but I feel like the lashes aren't really taking it right now, you know? My eyelashes just kind of feel like they're wanting to stick together at this point. So maybe with age, this mascara will get a little better. That does sometimes happen. But the positive for this is that it didn't smudge on me, so I do like that. Now for lip products, I have 3 different new things. One of these, I don't even remember putting this in my order, this Peptide Bliss, but we have it. Peptide Bliss Glossy Lip Balm. The shade is Blissberry. It has the little like kind of hard tip like that that's turned back a bit. We can put some on. It looks pretty. It does have some pigment, not too far off from like the way the e.l.f. ones are. the e.l.f. Glow Reviver. I've done a whole video sorting out products like this. This has kind of a thin feel upon application, but as it was sitting on my lips the other day, oh, by the way, a really pleasant fruity scent. But as it was sitting on my lips and I pressed my lips together, I noticed like, that feels more rich. That feels more intense than when I just was gliding it on off the applicator. But here's the color. It's kind of amounting to a My Lips, but a little more pinky mauve maybe. Adding shine, not oodles of color. I guess I could build it up more, you know? Color does appear to be somewhat buildable, but you'll just feel like your lips are a bit more goopy because you tried to do that. It's nice. Not an extremely unique product in our current makeup marketplace, but I would say yes, it feels good and it actually feels more hydrating as it stays on your lip, which is kind of an odd way to describe it, but that's what I noticed. And then I'm going to need to take that off because we do have a lip combo. But hey, my lips feel so nourished after having had that on for a little bit. We've got the Gel Glide Long Lasting Lip Liner. This lays down a lot of color all at once. The shade I have is called Sip and Slay. Really major tightness there with the cap. So they're wanting to maintain the softness in this formula, I think. I gotta stop talking and focus here. Look, one swipe, a lot of color laying down. This is kind of a brownish shade. Maybe a bit more brown than I was expecting. It's completely easy to fill in your lips with this. I feel like I'm using a lipstick, just a really, really skinny one. And the other times I've used this as well, I have filled in my whole lips with it because I just kind of felt like it would look too stark if I didn't. And I can tell now that there's like a little bit of a dry down wanting to happen there. But I felt like while the product did not look as intense on my lips by day's end, it did not look uneven in the wear. And that was because I filled in the whole lips instead of just doing a rim. It's been on my lips for a little bit here. It's really not transferring off. Maybe just a hint transferred off there on my hand, and my swatch I put here is not moving. So that's impressive to see. But then you take a gloss, you put something else on top. I think that's where your staying power can start to break down a little more. I bet if I just went throughout the day with this and only this on, I'm thinking this would wear quite well. But I do have this Filler Supreme, this lip product. I got it in the shade Nude Not Rude. This says with peptides and hyaluronic acid for fuller looking lips, high shine, non-sticky, and non-tingling. So the Filler Supreme thing, don't get too caught up in like, oh, it's a lip plumper. No, it's just making your lips appear fuller. I'm going to put this on top. I'll swatch it for you too. But it's a pretty nude gloss. It is giving me kind of like the shine of Lawless, let's say, but not as thick. There's that shine. Scent, is it just like the teeniest little hint of coconut? But the color seems pretty opaque for a nude gloss. There it is swatched next to the liner. Do you see that? Like, I think that would make a lot of good lip combos, a good natural everyday type of color for a lot of people. I've just put it on top of a rather rich lip liner. But look what happens, you swipe it away, and I kind of blended that on top of the liner a little bit because the liner initially was not wanting to wipe off, but with some of the gloss kind of mixed into it, you're going to break things down a little faster. I feel like we all know that, but just something to keep in mind. At the start of your day, you're putting together a lip combo. What's the priority? For the color to be on there longer. If that's what you want, don't be layering up glosses. But if you don't really care about that as much, or you just figure I'll settle for a portion of the day staying power instead of all day wear, combo it up how you please, you know? But let's chat about this look, how things ended up, what the favorites are. For me, my most favorite things, I'm immediately thinking this Soft Blur Matte Airbrush Powder did a great job. Looks beautiful up on the under eye, really did the blurring thing, did the additional bit of coverage thing. It's a nicely textured powder. I also love the feel of the butter-like bronzer duo, and I like having a bronzer duo, bronzer, contour, those things I enjoyed very much. Now let me just say, this is not new to me whatsoever, so I'm not really talking about it in my analysis, but I adore that foundation and the concealer. This primer really impressed me with the mattifying blur, but what I need to do is keep a closer eye on the staying power all day, but it truly, in application, it's really doing what it says it will do. This blush is great, a little more than I need, but still really great. I liked the other blushes, but I didn't feel like these were extremely unique given all the different things that are out there right now. I actually kind of like the Aura Glam. Did I call it Aura Gleam earlier? I'm kind of enjoying this just because a creamy blush topper is not something I feel like I've been using a lot, but it actually looks gorgeous topping off the cheek look. So those I think are my top 3 products. Liking the lip liner very much as well. That's super creamy, but then really sets up. And Catrice was already doing a lip liner I love with their plumping lip liner that wasn't really plumping, but it wore a long time. They were already doing great with that. This is even creamier as it lays down on the lips. So that's another probably top product. Nude gloss is nice, but not necessarily like, wow, so different from everything else. The least favorite things for me would be these eye products. This liner just, you know, you can't be transferring around. Being a black liner, you can't do that. And then this mascara just did not really impress. It's not awful, and it is tubing, but it's just not like bulking them up the way I want. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you to my fellow Catrice fans out there for letting me know, hey, there's new stuff on their website. And I did get 20% off on this order, which was nice. So if you sign up for like the texts and stuff, they'll tell you when they're doing those kinds of promos, or you can just keep an eye on the website. But yeah, I'm enjoying my finished look, and I do expect it to wear very well today. So thanks for your time, everyone. I'll see you again soon. I love you. Bye.